it's Lisa. I'm going to be making a two-page layout today, and this layout is very similar to a layout that is in my new class coming out, Two-Page Terrific. You can find out information about the class on my blog. I'm going to be sharing with you today some of how I'm going to be doing the background for this particular layout. I'm going to be using a different technique than some that I use in the class, but I'm using quite a few techniques from the class. So I'm not going to go through all of those details. I'll show you a little bit about product. We'll do the background feature, and then we'll come back and look at the layout and how it's finished out, and talk about some of the things that you can learn in that class, and hopefully find value from this particular layout. Some of the challenges that I have with this page is I have all these great photos. These were from my stepdaughter's wedding many years ago, but I did her wedding pages back then. But I'm covering some things from my own albums now, and I wanted to talk about the process that my mother and she used in working on her reception. She asked me to help with her wedding reception, so I procured flowers, and my mother did all these gorgeous flower arrangements, and I did the invitations and whatnot. So I have a lot of pictures, I have a lot of memorabilia, including these really unusual things. She lives 1,000 miles from me, and she and her mother and her sister went shopping for dresses, the wedding dress and the bridesmaid's dress, and she said, you know, we need to match these colors. How do I get you something to match by? And I said, take the dress to the paint store and pick up some paint swatches that match the dress and send them to me. And that's what she did, and I carried these around with me everywhere for months, and I bought tablecloths, and I bought ribbon, and I bought everything to go with these little paint swatches. So I still have those. But what I don't have is a ton of product to match these photos. I have some background paper, some cardstock, because I didn't have really a lot of designer paper. I have this one piece where there's not a lot here. And that's one of the things the class deals with, is when you don't have a lot of designer paper, how can you stretch that over your 2 pages? Same thing with this really pretty border sticker. And I do have some embellishments and a little bit of 6x6 paper. So I'll be using those in making the page and configuring the arrangement for these 6 photos. What I'm going to do right now, though, is work on the background. And I want to show you a technique for taking a stencil and using some Faber-Castell glaze and some paint. And I'm using the metallic craft paint in white. This happens to be the Anita's brand. It could be any metallic white paint that you want. I like this particular paint because it doesn't separate, and the bottle it comes out really good, and it's the cheapest one. So I'm going to be using these and dressing up this background and making it look really pretty for her wedding pictures. Okay, I'm taking some of the Faber-Castell glaze, a little bit of that out. And I want to use some white metallic paint, and probably not quite as much as the paint as I used to the glaze. Mix those together. The glaze keeps the paint from drying real quickly, so it gives me some time to work with it, but mainly it makes it really shine. Because the metallic will shine some, but this glaze really makes it shine even more. Okay, I've moved my stencil down some here. I decided I wanted this a little bit further down. And what I'm going to do is I've got this mixed up, and I'm just going to take the material that I've mixed up and go over my stencil. I'll kind of stay light in that center point. Using a stiff bristled brush helps keep it from going underneath the stencil. And I don't mind if it globs on there a little bit, because I want that color to show, that white to show over on the green. And out here I'm just sort of feathering these edges a little bit where it's going to come off the edge of the stencil there so it doesn't have such a hard edge. The photos will cover a lot of this very edge anyway, but there'll still be some of it that you'll see. Okay, let's take what's left and glob that on in places. And the glaze will really make this white shine. Okay. And when I'm finished, I'll hang on to this very carefully and just peel the whole thing up. And now you can see what it looks like wet, and we'll come back and look at it when it's dry. Okay, here's the dried version of this, and it's almost silvery white. It's just really beautiful, and it's going to look really pretty with my photos and my papers and all the things that I have to go with this layout. So you can see that one, and then I did a smaller version here that's going down in the lower right hand corner. Okay, I have my 2-page layout completed, and let's look and see how that background enhanced the page. We used a mixture of white metallic paint, just craft paint, along with some glaze, and it creates this beautiful, almost silvery effect. Just a really nice effect. I did a large element here and then a smaller one over on the right hand page. A lot of the details about the page are the kinds of things that are in my 2-page Terrific class, which is a new class that I have. You'll find out more information about that at the very end of the video, about how you can register for that if you're interested, if you do 2-page layouts or want to do 2-page layouts. A lot of people do 2-page layouts because they like the appearance of 2 pages together in their albums. Other folks do it because, like me, because we have too many photos. We have more photos, more journaling, more memorabilia than will fit on a single page, and that's what leads us to a 2-page layout. We deal with both of those. Some people like to have things go very continuously across. They don't mind that space in the middle, like what's called the gutter in your book, whether it's binder rings or the post bounding or whatever. You're going to have a certain amount of space between pages. Some folks are fine with things that are split across that. Others prefer to not have anything right there at that gutter. So I do examples of both of those and deal with both of those. I also talk a lot about unity and balance across pages, and we look at how to stretch supplies, how to deal with backgrounds, especially if you only have that one piece of perfect background paper that you want to use. In my case, I used cardstock, but I found a way to make the cardstock a little more interesting and to sort of bring some unity to the pages. Now, just a couple of details about this page. I did incorporate a fair amount of memorabilia here. Those little cards that I said that I carried around for paint chips that I carried around to match the colors. Also, my stepdaughter used bells in her wedding, her mother, and she went and bought these cute little bells that people rang whenever the bride and groom left after the ceremony, and they had a bell choir play during with real bells, played during the service. It was absolutely beautiful. So I had a stamp that had bells on. I remembered that. This is actually one I bought after her wedding came down the road, so I didn't use it on any of the wedding stuff, but it made a nice accent for these pages. And to incorporate a little bit more memorabilia, I needed a little something more over here on this left-hand page to create some balance, and there was a tag that went on the bell and a little string for it. So I took all that off the bell and put it on here. So the only thing I don't have is the actual bell on the page, but I do have the other parts of the memorabilia there. Used some 6x6 pads and a lot of the design principles from the class. So I hope you'll join me for that class, and thank you so much for watching today's video.